14-year-old girl who seemed just like any other teenager. She was a good student, played soccer, and had a normal family life, but behind closed doors, Cassidy was hiding something that wouldn't in tragedy. What makes this case so shocking isn't just what happened, but who Cassidy was. A regular girl that nobody would have expected to do something so terrible. So let's dive into this heartbreaking story. Cassidy was born on November 22nd, 1997, and grew up in Lakeland, Florida, a city of about 100,000 people located between Tampa and Orlando. For those unfamiliar with the area, Lakeland is known for its lakes, suburban neighborhoods, and relatively quiet lifestyle. It's the kind of place where neighbors know each other and serious crimes don't happen. Very often, Cassidy lived with her parents, Teresa and Timothy Goodson, and her siblings in a typical suburban home. By all accounts, they were a normal working-class family. Her parents worked long hours to support their children, which meant the kids often had to be self-sufficient and help each other out. Cassidy regularly helped with household chores and was described as responsible and helpful. She attended Kathleen High School, a public school with about 800 students. Teachers and classmates knew her as a good student who kept up with her assignments. She was also a dedicated athlete who played soccer for the local league. This wasn't just a casual hobby. Cassidy took her sports seriously and was known to be committed to practice and games. Religion was also a part of Cassidy's upbringing. She went to church every Sunday with her family, something she had been doing since she was a young child. This regular church attendance added to the image of a structured, traditional family life. Perhaps most notably, Cassidy had never been in trouble before. No drinking, no drugs, no shoplifting, no school suspensions, nothing that would have hinted at what was about to happen. There were no red flags, no warning signs that anyone could point to later and say, "We should have seen this coming." This is part of what made the events of 2012 so shocking to everyone who knew her. In the summer of 2012, when Cassidy was 14, her siblings started noticing she was acting differently. They were the first to pick up on subtle changes in her behavior, probably because they spent more time with her than their busy parents did. Looking back, there were signs that something was up, but at the time, nobody put the pieces together. Cassidy had gained some weight, particularly around her midsection. But her mom just thought it was normal teenage stuff. You know how bodies change during those years. Teen girls often experience weight fluctuations, and Teresa had no reason to suspect anything unusual. What might seem obvious, in hindsight, wasn't clear at all in the moment. As the weeks passed, Cassidy's wardrobe started changing. She began wearing increasingly baggy clothes, oversized hoodies, and loose shirts, even in the Florida summer heat, which can be brutally humid. While this might have raised eyebrows in some families, Cassidy explained it away as just following current fashion trends. Her social patterns changed too. She gradually stopped hanging out with friends and declined invitations to social gatherings she avoided, places in the neighborhood where she used to spend time, and instead spent most of her time alone in her room. When asked about this isolation, Cassidy would blame homework or say she was tired from soccer practice. Meanwhile, at school, a different story was emerging. Rumors started going around among her classmates that Cassidy might be pregnant. Teenagers can be surprisingly observant, and some had noticed her changing body shape despite her efforts to hide it. Some of Cassidy's aunts even heard these rumors through the community grapevine and felt concerned enough to tell her mom, Teresa. When confronted directly about the rumors, Cassidy firmly denied everything. She seemed offended that anyone would think she was pregnant and had a ready explanation. For all the changes others had noticed, Teresa wanted to be thorough, though. So she had Cassidy take 2 home pregnancy tests. Both came back negative. We now know Cassidy probably tampered with those tests to hide the truth, likely taking them privately and manipulating the results somehow before showing them to her mother. For months, Cassidy managed to maintain this elaborate deception. She successfully hid her pregnancy from everyone: her parents, her siblings, her friends, and her teachers. As her body continued to change, she found increasingly creative ways to conceal it. No one knew what was really going on behind her carefully constructed facade. Then came September 19, 2012. the day everything changed. That morning, Cassidy locked herself in her bedroom. What followed was over 3 hours of secret, unassisted labor. Her mom, Teresa, was home that day, but she didn't realize how long her daughter had been in the bathroom. The layout of their home meant that Cassidy's bathroom was connected directly to her bedroom, so Teresa just assumed her daughter was sleeping in, as teenagers often do. What happened in that bathroom would later be described in court documents and police reports alone and in pain. Cassidy went through labor without any medical assistance. Pain relief or support, she later told investigators that she bit down on the towel to muffle her screams, so no one would hear her try to imagine the terror and confusion of a 14-year-old girl going through this traumatic experience by herself. Determined that no one should know what was happening when Cassidy finally emerged from the bathroom she was in. A medical emergency. She screamed for her mother. Teresa rushed to her daughter's room and found a horrifying scene that she would later describe as like something from a horror movie. Blood everywhere splattered across the bathroom floor and parts of the bedroom. The toilet was filled with blood and Cassidy was pale and disoriented. From blood loss, terrified for her daughter's life, Teresa immediately rushed Cassidy to Lakeland Regional Medical Center. The medical team quickly assessed her condition and discovered she had recently given birth and was experiencing serious complications. Cassidy had lost a dangerous amount of blood and had severe injuries to her private parts that required immediate medical attention. When her mom asked what happened, Cassidy came up with astery. She admitted she had been pregnant, but claimed she delivered a small deformed fetus that had gotten flushed down the toilet accidentally. Teresa was shocked to learn about the pregnancy, but was mainly focused on her daughter's immediate medical needs. The doctors worked to stabilize Cassidy, treating her blood loss and injuries. After a couple of days in the hospital receiving care, she was deemed stable enough to be released. Cassidy returned home, where the family was still processing the revelation of her hidden pregnancy and traumatic miscarriage, or so they thought. At the time, 3 days after Cassidy came home from the hospital, Teresa Goodson was gathering laundry when she detected a terrible, unusual smell coming from her daughter's room, initially suspecting a dead animal somewhere in the Florida home. Teresa became increasingly concerned when she discovered heavily blood-stained clothes in Cassidy's laundry basket, the clothes she had worn during the birth. Even after removing these items, the powerful odor remained and seemed to be intensifying. Growing more worried, Teresa began searching the room, thoroughly checking under the bed and behind furniture before finally making her way to Cassidy's closet. There, she discovered a shoebox pushed toward the back, partially hidden behind shoes and clothing. Something about the box immediately alarmed her. Perhaps the way it was concealed or the stronger smell emanating from it. When Teresa opened the lid, she experienced a moment that would forever change her life. Inside wasn't the malformed fetus Cassidy had claimed, but the body of a fully formed newborn baby boy, her own grandchild, whose existence had been completely hidden from her until this horrifying moment. Terrified and in shock, Teresa's first instinct was to call her sister, someone she deeply trusted. After discussing this unimaginable situation with her sister, they reached the inevitable conclusion that they needed to call the police. This wasn't something they could handle privately as a family. When officers arrived at the Goodson home, Teresa, still visibly shaken, explained everything about the pregnancy, birth, hospital visit, and her devastating discovery. The officers secured the scene while Cassidy was taken to the Lakeland Police Department, where she would finally have to reveal the full truth about what had happened 3 days earlier. At the Lakeland Police Department, faced with undeniable evidence, Cassidy finally confessed to what truly happened. She described feeling ill for days before the birth, experiencing vomiting and diarrhea, which were actually early signs of labor. On September 19th, feeling intense pressure in her lower abdomen, she locked herself in the bathroom. In her desperate state, Cassidy made dangerous decisions. that revealed her complete lack of understanding about childbirth. She used a Santa Claus figurine to probe her birth canal, attempting to induce or assist the delivery. As the baby began to crown, she grabbed scissors to help extract him, causing the severe injuries that later required medical attention. After delivery, the baby fell into the toilet bowl with the placenta. According to her confession, Cassidy reached into the toilet and touched the baby, realizing he was alive and breathing. It was at this critical moment that she made her life-defining decision. While the umbilical cord was still attached, she deliberately placed her hands over the newborn's mouth and nose, suffocating him. She told investigators it took about a minute before the baby stopped moving. Afterward, she cut the umbilical cord, attempted to clean the bathroom, placed her son's body in a shoebox, and hid it in her closet. When questioned about her motives, Cassidy explained she was terrified of disappointing her parents and feared how the pregnancy would change her life and relationship with them. She identified the father as a boy from her school with whom she'd had a consensual relationship, but was no longer speaking to police. Later located him, but protected his identity due to his age. The autopsy showed that baby Goodson, as he became known, was a completely healthy boy, weighing about 9 lb. The cause of death was suffocation. On September 27, 2012, Cassidy was formally charged and taken to the Polk County Juvenile Detention Center. Because of how serious the crime was, authorities decided to try her as an adult, which meant she could have faced life in prison. However, the Supreme Court had recently ruled that mandatory life sentences for minors were unconstitutional. In December 2012, prosecutors offered Cassidy a plea deal. She pleaded guilty to manslaughter, and Judge Donald Jacobson sentenced her to 18 months in a maximum security juvenile facility, plus intensive psychological treatment. After serving her sentence, Cassidy returned home to her family's support. Some people in the community weren't as forgiving. She lost friends and even received threats. The latest information suggests that Cassidy eventually got married and had 2 daughters. With the firstborn in 2017, the case sparked major debate about whether her sentence was too light and about the importance of better sex education for teenagers. Many people wondered how something like this could have been prevented. What do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. This case reminds us how important it is to keep communication open with the young people in our lives. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe for more true crime stories.